I'm Amber Davies and welcome to Call to Stage. This is the space where musical theatre takes centre stage. From unforgettable backstage stories with incredible special guests to insights from my life and my theatre journey. We're leaving it all on the mic every single week, so let's jump in. Hi guys, welcome back to Call to Stage with me, Amber Davies. Now today I'm doing a full solo ep. I wanted to do a full roundup of the New York trip, just me, to give you like the full lowdown, all the tea, all the goss. I'm going to do reviews of every Broadway show we saw, like honest reviews. And yeah, just give you like life updates really. I want to say a massive thank you to Wizard Radio, Universal Music, Poppy, James for making that trip even possible, because honestly the whole time I was there I just felt like I'm actually working in New York right now, and it felt just dreamy, and I feel like so lucky, and I don't take that for granted at all. So I definitely wanted to get that thank you out there. Also a thank you to Ben Joyce, who tagged along and was basically my cameraman for the whole trip, which was just the cutest thing ever. Oh my God, where do I even start? So I had said to the team, I really want to do a New York season and go and interview loads of talent out there. And honestly, it was just a dream to organise. I had given like my wish list of people that I wanted to come on the show, and the first person I said was like, I want Shoshana Bean, and they made all of that happen. So let's start. Firstly, I'm going to review the shows from start to finish, because I saw Sunset Boulevard, I saw The Outsiders, Hell's Kitchen and Tammy Fare. So let's start with Sunset Boulevard. I may say some controversial things, but just remember that theatre is subjective. It's like Marmite. Some people love it, some people hate it. Not two people can have the same like genuine opinion on a piece of theatre. So don't come for me. I'm just going to give you my honest review. I've seen Sunset Boulevard twice. I saw Nicole Scherzinger in the Savoy Theatre in London, and then I saw Mandy Gonzalez's debut as Norma Desmond in New York on Broadway. When I was watching Mandy, I felt like I got a true representation of Norma Desmond, where when I was watching Nicole, I was being a little bit sidetracked that I was watching Nicole, if that makes sense. So it's a me problem. It's a complete me thing. It was just the most wonderful experience going to see Mandy's debut performance. One, because me and Ben were sitting in the audience. There's like a handful of people who have come from the London cast to go and do it in Broadway. That's people like Emma Williams, Tyler Davis, who Ben and I worked with in Back to the Future. Hannah Chamberlain, she's an Erdan girl. Tom Francis, of course, and like other British names who you're kind of mutual friends with, Grace Hodgett-Young, David Thaxton. It was like a real out-of-body experience watching people on a Broadway stage. Very proud, I was quite emotional throughout the whole thing. Emma's mum and dad, her dad is actually Welsh, was sitting in front of us, so it really felt familiar, especially being so far away. And Mandy's performance, look, I actually thought that Sunset was a lot tighter than when I saw it in London. I don't know. I think I saw it really early on, like even in preview stages when it was in London. So a lot of things changed when I saw it on Broadway. I've worked with Fabian Eloise on Bring It On. He choreographed the show. And I do think like the way the choreography is done and the direction, like Jamie Lloyd, it is a faultless show. But I did feel like the Broadway cast were a lot tighter. I recognised the changes. I thought that definitely wasn't in it in London. The beginning of Act 2, we all know what happens with Tom Francis walking out of the theatre, like honestly, as an audience member, I know there's opinions on it on social media. I've seen TikToks, but as a piece of art and as a piece of theatre, it is like unbelievable. I was buzzing my tits off. As I was going back to Mandy, I don't want to compare Mandy to Nicole because they are two completely different performers. I just felt like I was a little bit more invested in Norma Desmond watching Mandy do it. Like I said, because I wasn't sidetracked by the fact that Nicole Scherzinger was belting her tits off in my face. And I found her comedy timing really good. She was really, really funny. And she got multiple standing ovations during the show, which we need to talk about the difference between American audiences and British audiences, but we will get there. So as a whole, I'm actually going to say I preferred my Broadway experience of Sunset Boulevard. I was also there with two of my friends who had never seen the show before, and just watching their faces in complete shock was just the best thing ever. And like, I thought the sound was really good. The orchestra is just unbelievable. Yeah, 10 out of 10. I'd probably say it's really difficult because every show I saw was unbelievable in its own way. But it definitely 10 out of 10 for me for Sunset. I was a little bit disappointed when we got to the theatre. There was an absolute massive queue of people wanted to change their tickets because they'd found out Nicole wasn't on that night. And I just think, honest to God, Mandy is just as much of a superstar as Nicole in her own right. And if you have the opportunity to see Mandy, you're just as lucky as you would be to see Nicole. But I, of course, know she's a huge selling point for the show. Now, what did I go see next? Oh, I don't know if I'm going to get cancelled for saying this. I'm just going to be honest. The Outsiders. ... Ben and I went to America in April and we didn't go and see The Outsiders. And we were absolutely gutted because the soundtrack came out soon after. And my gosh, we are obsessed. I introduced like the soundtrack to like Natalie Paris, and we were just obsessed during the tour, especially in Pretty Woman. So I'd kind of hyped The Outsiders big in my head, like won Best New Musical at the Tony Awards. This is going to blow my socks off. This is going to be the best show ever. Okay, let me just say the positives first, because as a whole, the show is good. And I could actually see it doing well in London, only because it's like a majority of the cast is like really good looking males. And I feel like it has the potential to have the fan base of like Six, that Six did. But. Do I think it deserved Best New Musical? No. So I saw Hell's Kitchen the night after. Oh no, I saw Hell's Kitchen that evening. So I saw the Outsiders matinee, Hell's Kitchen in the evening. Do I think it deserved Best New Musical? I'm going to say it with my chest, and I'm going to say no. Especially it was up against Back to the Future as well. I'm biased. So that was a little bit mind-blowing to me. Right, the show as a whole. Brody, who plays Ponyboy, sensational. His voice was literally out of this world. I've never heard anything like it. You know when you listen to a soundtrack and then you go and see a show and you're disappointed because you're like, it really doesn't sound like the soundtrack. He was better than the soundtrack. And if you haven't listened to Great Expectations on Spotify, go and listen to it. It's one of the greatest musical theatre songs, in my opinion. Subjective. And he options up at a certain point in the song. So I was waiting for him to do it. And he sounded even better than the soundtrack. And I literally welled up. I had goosebumps everywhere. He deserves all the success he gets after this. Also, The Outsiders had an amazing dance number in Act 2, which is like, I don't want to do a spoiler, but it was like a fight choreographed dance piece, which was done in the rain, and I was jaw on the floor. I really thought the choreography was amazing, and I was like, yeah, that moment right there, amazing. So the vocals in The Outsiders, faultless. And that one dance number was really, really good. Actually, I'm being harsh. The choreography throughout was amazing. I feel like it needs to be tightened as a show. There was some real blank moments during the show, and it was like to the point where I thought, has somebody forgotten their line, or is this just they're filling the space with their own emotion, which we couldn't feel as an audience? I do want to point, we saw a 3 p.m. matinee, so, you know, I get you've had a hard week, but I don't feel like we got the best version of the show. Also, I want to say I really appreciate covers, swings. They're our heroes. However, we did see a cover for the girl part, and it felt a little bit unrehearsed. Not had the time. I don't know what the circumstances were, but I could see her. No one else would notice this. I think it's only people who are like in the same industry that would notice it. But it was like I could see her clocks turning, and I was a little bit on edge watching her performance. But then again, like if it was her first go or whatever the circumstances, you know, she did a good job in her own right. But I think I just was on edge for her. So every time she came on stage, I was like, oh no, she's back on. And the sound was really, really bad. It was so quiet to the point where I missed quite a lot of lines. And it's such an amazing score that I just wanted it to be blaring, and I wanted to hear every single note, and I wanted to hear every single lyric, and I just was not given that. And I just want to side note, Broadway theatres are absolutely freezing. I was frozen from start to finish in every single performance I went to see. And I was just thinking, please, let's get some heating on in this place. I wanted to be like comfy watching the show, not like freezing to death. So I would give The Outsiders about a 7 out of 10. Would I recommend you go and watch it? No, there's better shows to go and see. Honestly, listen to the soundtrack on Spotify. That's enough, because it is unbelievable. Like I said, choreography was amazing. Score was amazing. The main guy was amazing. There was just missing moments. I do think if it comes to London, they need to tighten it up, or another person needs to have eyes on it as like a director's point of view, just to see how they could, you know, have the pace there and keep us as an audience engaged, because there were moments where they lost us. Moving on to, oh my God, Hell's Kitchen, Deceased. One of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Music's all written by Alicia Keys. A lot of her material is in there. Choreography was out of this world. The cast as a whole was superb. Guys, I feel physically sick just thinking back to the vocals that we heard. My jaw was on the floor from start to finish. We saw cover the lead girl. I think her name's Jade. I will fact check that. Jade something. Oh my God, she was insane. Every time she opened her mouth was pure perfection. It was like riffs for days, you know, and like she could move her voice and use her voice in a way that I've actually never experienced someone do before. And not one moment did I think, oh, she's vocally tired. She was just like a racehorse, bulletproof, going for it. Easy as well, like no udon noodle popping out of her neck, no vein popping out of her head. It was just pure perfection. Every single cast member, Shoshana Bean, who plays the mum, oh my God. Go and listen to Pawn, Pawn. She sings it. It's on Spotify. Hell's Kitchen, the musical soundtrack. She gives this massive whistle note. It was just goosebumps basically for 2.5 hours. The story was lovely. It was really tight. The set was great. The cast were fun. There was so much energy. It was like electric. The dad, sorry guys, I actually don't know the names of the characters, but the dad, oh my God, his voice blew us away. And the woman who is the piano player, oh my God. I was sobbing by the end. But if you go and listen to that soundtrack also on Spotify, it was actually, I'd say, better than the soundtrack, better live. And it was like the energy in the audience was just magical. And then I actually got to go on stage after and have a picture with Shoshana on the stage. And I was just like deceased. I couldn't get over my life. And then she texted me after saying, "So nice to see you." And I was just like, not Shoshana Bean, I messaging me. Like, I've really peaked there, haven't I? I would give that a solid 10 out of 10. If you were going to go to New York and you only have one opportunity to go and watch a show, go and see Hell's Kitchen. I promise you, you will not regret it. And then last but not least, Tammy Fare. This show actually was in London and I didn't get the opportunity to see it. And if I'm going to be brutally honest, the only reason why I did go and see it on Broadway is because my friend Mark, who I've done a session with, was in the show, and I haven't seen him perform since he was Fiyero and Wicked years and years ago. So I really wanted to support him. I mean, as soon as I saw him on stage, I was just bawling my eyes out because it was just nostalgia and pride like no other. Me and Poppy went to go and see this show. We had like a good little girls' night out. And when, I'm going to be brutally honest, when the show started, I kind of looked at Poppy and was like, oh God, what have we got ourselves into here? It was amazing. As soon as I got like the gist of what the show was about, I went in blind. I had no idea what the show was about at all. Didn't do any of my research. Just went to kind of enjoy myself and watch Mark. It was insane. Firstly, the amount of money I think that production have is crazy. The set was insane. A really nice big cast actually with, how do I put this? Strong old-fashioned choreography, musical theatre choreography that we all love. We actually saw preview 5, so there are still going to be massive changes done to the show, but the show that was presented to me was amazing. There's a lot of comedy in the show. We were laughing throughout, a lot of innuendos about God, and it was just, as soon as I clicked of, oh, this is what this is about, I was on board, couldn't get off that train. It was hysterical. It was very tongue-in-cheek, but it also had a lot of heart. I was crying at the end of that as well. Katie Braben. Let's talk Katie Braben. She originated the role of Tammy Fare in the UK and she won an Olivier for it. And my God, did she deserve that. I actually am utterly obsessed with her. Her performance from start to finish, her acting, her vocals, her comedy timing, the heart she put into the role. I was like, I'm obsessed with you. If she doesn't win Best Actress at the Tonys the next time around, I will be gobsmacked. I know Nicole's going to be in the same category as her, but I genuinely believe Katie deserves that. It was like a performance I've never seen before. I believed it all. Also, really amazing technical work with, there was a hint of, you know how they do the filming in Sunset Boulevard? I don't know if you've seen the show. There's a lot of like Theatre X movie vibe to it. And that's what Tammy Fare had as well. But I just honestly so glad I went to see that show. It was actually amazing. And that's probably another one I'd say, it wouldn't be on your like go-to to go and watch, but it should be. And it was really actually interesting to watch that specific show amongst an American audience because it's American based. The story is about two American people. Bobby, is it a true story? It is a true story. That's crazy. I kind of like that element to it as well, actually, that it's a true story. So, yeah, I just think she needs to win Best Actress at the Tonys for that performance because, wow, if I am half the performer she is when I'm her age, I'd be happy. So what would I give Tammy Faye? I'd probably give Tammy Faye a 9 out of 10, honestly. So that's the roundup of what I thought of each musical. I do want to touch base on the difference between an American audience and a British audience. Now, I am so here for clicking, standing up mid song because she sung a high note and you're applauding her. I am all over that. I love it. But what I found on the other half of that coin was lots of people chatting during the show. I don't know whether they were had met up with a friend and that's their thing, that they go and watch a show, but every single audience I sat in, there was someone near me or around me having a full-on conversation during the show, and I was kind of like looking, thinking, shut the fuck up. Please, can you just have some respect for the people on stage or leave and go and have a conversation? And it was like loud and very obvious that they were having a conversation, and it was like it was pissing me off so much, where I don't feel like you get that in the UK. So in the UK, yes, audience members may not be as responsive during the show. I always feel like at the end of the show, you always feel appreciated by a British audience. But during the show, they always kind of like to sit, analyse, watch. They're so invested in the story and, very polite. Apart from when you go up north and then you've got your Manchester, Liverpool, Glasgow audiences, which are just wild, which PS are my favourite audiences. But there's still even with them, there's still a level of respect. I just felt like there was moments where I didn't feel like people around me in America respected what was going on stage, and the amount of, maybe as well because I'm a performer and I know how hard it is to get up and give it your all every single night. So I was a bit like, can you just either appreciate and respect what's happening in front of you or leave? And another thing I want to point out is in England, well, in the UK, I don't know if it's the same with Europe, but we have our call, 5-minute call, and then we have beginner's call. Now, when we have beginner's call, you exit your dressing room, you come to side of stage, then our stage manager will get clearance from front of house, and you're pretty much, say it's a 7:30 performance, you're pretty much going up either at 7:30 or a couple of minutes later. That is not the case on Broadway. We would have a show starting at 7:30. We'd still be queuing outside at 7:25. And I was just thinking, where is the time management and structure? It was very laid back. And for me, if I was a performer, I'd be like, what's the hold up? Why are we going up 9, 10, 15 minutes later than the performance was scheduled for? So I feel like they may be a little bit more laid back with that, or the theatres need to be a little bit more organised with getting people in, or open the doors a little bit earlier. Because I was standing there, it was 7:30, and I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to start in a minute, and we're not even sitting down. But yeah, it was stressing me out as an audience member, but it's only because, like I said, I'm in that world. So yeah, that's the tea really on the performances. I do want to say thank you to absolutely everyone who came on as a guest. It was so lovely to meet people in our industry on the other side of the pond. We're very much, in the same bubble, living the same life, just their lives are exactly like ours. I always thought there was going to be like a dramatic difference between Broadway and West End, and actually after meeting these people, it's literally the same world. It's the same universe, apart from they don't do warm-up. And it was just so amazing and interesting to hear their stories and just kind of be a part of that world, even if it was just for a week. And I've always said, I would absolutely love to go and be in a Broadway show. Very, very difficult because there's so many talented people on Broadway. And, in the talent pool over there. But there's just like this vibe about New York. It's like London on crack, it's so busy. A lot more theatres, a lot more shows. It was just, I would love to experience that life for like a year and then come back to where I belong. But yeah, it was just a real eye-opening trip, and I feel so grateful that I was able to do that. I've got to give a massive shout out to Shoshana. I really loved her and carried on, chatting afterwards. Eva was amazing. Mark was just so lovely to see. We then obviously, of course, got Roger on. We had a lovely dinner with him. Everyone was just fabulous, and I feel like I know I keep repeating myself, but I had to like pinch myself so many times, just being like, how I got here. And I want to say thank you to you guys for listening, because I feel like we've built a real lovely community with Call to Stage, and without you guys I wouldn't have been able to go out there and interview all these fabulous people. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope I don't come over jet lagged in any of them. So that's me done. Thank you if you're still listening to me ramble on. It has been lovely just to sit down and chat to you guys for half an hour and give my honest opinion. Don't cancel me for any of my opinions, please. That is the roundup of our Broadway season, and keep an eye out for what's to come. Thank you so much, guys. Love you.